This is going to be an introduction to our Chapter 6 project. If you go onto the Moodle page for geometry and go to the bottom in the section for Chapter 6, the very bottom should say Quadrilaterals Poster Assessment. If you click on that, you open up a document that looks like this. The Quadrilaterals Poster Assessment is going to be kind of like a test grade. I'm going to provide you a paper I already have, and I've got a timeline here which I'll come back to in a second. But I want you to know it's an individual project. It's not a group project, so everybody's doing their own poster. When you're doing the poster, you can use your family tree, you can use the online textbook, you can use the notes on Moodle, and you can ask me questions. You can work with me after school or whatever, but you're not allowed to use other students or their posters, other teachers, other online resources, or anything else. And you will be asked to sign a statement when you hand in the poster that said that you only used the acceptable resources. So here's what your project is going to look like. It's a big rectangle, but it's split up into a lot of different sections. There are a lot of lines, and you don't have to draw these lines at first. The directions will tell you what to draw and when. Title, don't forget to put your name in there. There are 4 sections though. You can see there are sections with clouds, sections with hearts, sections with moons, and sections with crosses. And those are all referring to different quadrilaterals. For instance, region 1 is for rectangles. So anywhere where there's a cloud, that's has something to do with rectangles. So that's what you're going to be doing for this first night for homework. You're going to do these 1, 2, 3 parts to the rectangle section of your poster. All the steps are right here. It says draw the diagonals of the poster. This poster is a rectangle. Verify that with a protractor. So how can you tell it's a rectangle? What's the definition of a rectangle? And what evidence can you find in your physical poster that you have that lets you know it's definitely a rectangle? By the way, I've put hints after some of these things. So look at the definition. It probably is a perfect rectangle. In the past, I've cut the paper myself, but this is machine cut, so I think it'll work. Then number 3, state theorem 6.15. You can just write it word for word from your family tree, but then you have to verify it with actual measurements. So you have to think, what does that theorem mean, and then make actual measurements on your poster and make sure that theorem 6.15 is true for your rectangular poster. And when you're doing that, please use centimeters, not inches. Then the 4th thing says in the diagram, these segments have these measurements. Solve for x. Hint, when you solve for x here, you're going to get some number, and that number doesn't have to do with number this one at all, because these numbers aren't in centimeters. So because your x is going to be different from your actual measurements, don't worry that you got different numbers. I expect you to have different numbers from the actual measurements. When you do these, you can see that it tells you like this one has a cloud with a 1 in it. So when you provide the evidence, you're going to write it in this part of the poster where it has the 1 and the cloud. Then when you do like this one, state theorem 6.15, it says put it in cloud 2. So you're going to put it over here. You don't have to draw the clouds, but that's just how I can tell you where on the poster it should be. And then the 3rd thing you're doing, you're showing all your work, goes in the 3rd section with the cloud right there. All right, for your first night of homework, you're just doing the rectangular section. All right, so that's region 1. There are 4 regions. Region 2 is trapezoids, region 3 is squares, region 4 is kites, and I'm going to tell you when to do all of them. For instance, rectangles is due on February 1st, squares and kites has that date, trapezoids, and the finished poster is on the 11th. That's after your test. Remember, your test is going to be on the 7th, so nothing will be due on the test day, but then on the following day will be when you have to finish the poster by. While you're doing it, on the last 2 pages is the rubric. So it basically restates everything you need to do, and you can almost check it off as you go along. Like theorem 6.15 is stated, did you write that? Yes, so that's going to be 1 point. Or you didn't write that yet, so you better go write that. Showing your work is worth points. And then it's got all the different sections. So like I said, all of these lines that get drawn, you're going to be directed to draw them. So you don't have to draw them until it tells you to draw them. You don't have to draw this whole thing tonight. The first thing is just drawing the diagonals. so you should know what those are. Also, at the bottom of the rubric, this is worth 34 points, by the way. At the bottom of the rubric, you could get bonus points. You can get 1 bonus point for a creative title, whatever that means to you, as long as I find it creative. And then there are 5 possible points for wow factor. Now, what does wow factor mean? It's an undefined term, but it basically means when I look at your poster and I think, oh wow, they did, I don't know, a lot of work, or this is really neat, or this looks really cool, or they were really creative with this, then I might give you up to 5 bonus points. I normally don't give out 5 total bonus points for the wow factor, but I have given like 4s before. And I reserve the right to give no wow factor points. A lot of the posters will have no wow factor points. So those are bonus points. You don't have to do any of that. But if you're going to put in extra work, then I'm going to try to reward you with some bonus points. You can always, again, work with me after school if you have any questions or confused by anything. And make sure you do rectangles by next class.